All right. Should probably plug the mic in if we want everybody to be able to hear. We're going to do that. All right, here we go. So today we're going to be talking about how if you're focused on everything, you're focused on nothing. Now, where does that come from? So before we get into the show, first, as you tune in, drop a comment. Let me know how your week's going. I always like hearing from people as you tune into the show. But before we get into the show, what I want to reiterate is that the goal of this show is to help athletes reach new levels. The goal of this show is to help athletes improve their career in their sport and build the dream that they have for their life in athletics. And we talk about things outside of training. We talk about mindset stuff. We talk about all kinds of different things to just help bring athletes to new levels. So as you tune in, drop me a comment, let me know how your day is going, and we are going to get into the show. And today we're talking about how if you focus on everything, you focus on nothing. Now, let's go. We're going to get going into the show now in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we're talking about how if you focus on everything, you focus on nothing. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, it comes from a conversation I was having with an athlete last week who was asking me for advice on the strength and conditioning program that they had built. And they were telling me that they were running 5 times a week. They were lifting 4 times a week. They were doing sprints after every one of their runs. They were boxing 6 times a week. And then they were asking my advice, what else they should add in on top of that in order to see the effects that they were looking for in the sport, because they felt like even with doing all that, their endurance was suffering. They weren't feeling good. And they felt like the guy was saying he felt like he needed more training on top of that to actually feel the effects that he wanted to feel. And I talked him through this for a while. I gave him a couple of suggestions. We had a good conversation. And basically what I tried to reiterate to him, and what I'm going to reiterate to all of you guys as well, is that you can't focus on everything at the same time. You can't improve your endurance while you improve your strength, while you improve your power, while you improve your speed, while you improve your skills, it just doesn't work like that. Because if you're trying to focus on everything, you're not putting enough quality time and effort into any one of those qualities. And in turn, a lot of those qualities are going to suffer. And in turn, you're not really going to see any result. So if you're training 30, 40 hours a week and you're wondering why you still gas out in your 9-minute fight, it's because the way you're training isn't conducive to the activity that you're training for. A fight is 9 minutes long, 15 minutes long, depending on the level that you're at, depending on the sport, anywhere up to 36 minutes long. The problem is that a lot of athletes are trying to build every physical quality at the same time, doing these ridiculously long training sessions that in turn are just beating down the body and not giving you any positive effect. So what happens is you end up overworking yourself. And while you overwork yourself, you end up causing injuries, you end up causing other problems, and in turn, you make things worse instead of better. But in your head, the mentality is more training equals better results. So instead of understanding that you need to back the fuck off, you start adding more. So when I was talking to this athlete, and what I'm going to say to all of you as well, is every session that you do should have a clear purpose. Because it's a tricky thing training for any kind of sport, but it's especially a tricky thing training for combat sports, because competitions can come up at any random time. You know, you can take a fight on 3 weeks' notice. So like you always kind of have to be fully in shape, but you don't want to overwork so that we start seeing those negative effects like I was talking about. So what I was talking through to him is, yes, you should have a little bit of everything included in a program, but the prime focus should always be obvious. Because again, if you're running 5 times a week and then you're doing sprints after those runs, I understand that what in your head you're saying, this is my speed work that I'm doing after I do my cardio. But if you've done a hard 5-kilometer run, your body's not at 100%. And if your body's not at 100%, you're not truly going to be able to improve your speed, because your body doesn't feel good. And therefore, when you're trying to run fast, you're not really moving fast. You might be running as fast as you can, but you're not moving fast enough to actually improve your speed. That makes sense? So if you're beating your body down in other areas and then trying to improve in this other area once your body's beaten down, you're not actually going to improve anything. You're just going to work super hard, push yourself to the limit, and probably end up hurting yourself or just overall not feeling good. So instead, what you need to do is break those up. So first of all, anybody out there that's running 5 times a week, you do not need to be running 5 times a week. I'm going to lay that out there. You do not need to be running 5 times a week. Why? Because you're doing other work. You're at your MMA classes, your boxing classes, whatever else it is, and you're getting aerobic benefit from that. And then if your strength and conditioning is set up properly, you're doing some other conditioning through the week. So adding runs on top of that is literally beating your body up for the sake of beating your body up. And I know that's a controversial opinion. I know that's, people are going to hear that and think I'm telling them not to work hard. I'm not fucking telling you not to work hard. I'm telling you to understand what you're preparing for. If you are training in the MMA gym, the boxing gym, whatever sport is for you, if you are training 4, 5, 6 plus times per week, you are getting a lot of aerobic benefit from that. We don't need to fully transform your aerobic system on top of that. We need to gently add in finishing touches to your aerobic system on top of that. That means a couple of sessions a week where you're doing a shorter aerobic focus session, not balls to the wall 5 times a week, out pounding the pavement. So first off, if you're running 5 times a week, stop running 5 times a week. Second, if you're running and then you're doing your sprints and stuff after you're finished running, you're not getting the effects from your sprints that you're looking for. Because, again, your body is beaten down, or if you're doing it at the end of training. I know a lot of athletes tell me they do that. They do a hard hour of sparring, and as soon as they're finished that, they go right into doing sprint training because, come on, bro, you got to train tired so you can fight tired. And, it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life, to put it nicely, because you want to train your body to be physically capable to not spend the whole fight tired instead of just training yourself to fight tired. Because if you're doing your sprints while your body's at that low from that hard hour, 2 hours of training, you're not getting positive benefit out of it because your body's beaten down and you can't get faster when you have nothing to give. So instead, give yourself time between those. I have athletes that train on the same days that they spar, and they absolutely should, but they need to take a little bit of a break. They need to eat something. They need to take 30, 45 minutes to recover between those sessions. If you're going right from one directly, momentarily into the next, your body's beaten down and you're not going to get good effect. So if you're an athlete that is taking care of their own programming right now, first of all, you're crazy. Send me a message and we can talk about actually helping you reach the next level instead of having you try to figure it out yourself. But if you insist that right now, even though there's so many valuable resources out there and coaches that can help you, you insist you want to do this all on your own right now, what I want you to think about, what I want you to take away from this, is I want you to understand that every program needs a focus. So if you're focused on getting stronger, I should be able to look at the program you're doing and I should be able to clearly tell you this is a strength program. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Athletes of mine, when we're in a strength block, we still do some plyometrics, we still do some conditioning, but the majority of the session is lifting. So we'll have a quick warm-up, and then we'll have 1 or 2 plyo drills where they're doing 3 to 4 sets. The focus is more staying stable than it is really being explosive. And then we go right into the lifting. We have 2 to 3 lower body strength exercises in that session, 2 to 3 upper body strength exercises in that session. And then at the end, some programs, we won't have much conditioning work. Other programs, we'll throw in an aerobic session at the end, 10 to 12 minutes of high pace aerobic work. And putting all of that together, when you look at that, you go, okay, quick warm up, about 10 minutes on the plyometric work, 30 to 40 minutes on the strength work, and then 10 to 12 minutes on the conditioning. What is the focus of that session? The focus of that session is building strength. But so many of you are trying to throw everything into every session for fear of things not improving, and you don't understand how the body works. That's not going to be how my athletes program look all year. But if we take 3 to 4 weeks and that's how the program looks, we're building more strength. We're still doing a little bit of plyos, a little bit of conditioning, a little bit of other stuff sprinkled in there. The body's going to get stronger. The foundation's going to get stronger. And if you followed me for any period of time, you know what I'm going to say next. If the body gets stronger and the foundation gets stronger, we can build a better athlete on top of that. So after that 3 to 4 week block, we're building up the strength. We're doing all of those things. What do we do after that? We take all of that work that we've done, that strong, powerful foundation we've built, and we build you into a more powerful athlete. The next program, we switch up the focus. There's 3 to 4 plyometric exercises, only 2 lifts. Conditioning, but conditioning focused more around being explosive. And when I look at that session, I should be able to look at it and say, we're focused on building power, and know that that is the effect that we're trying to get out of it. So it's not to say that you shouldn't have any other physical qualities in there, but you've got to remember, if you're focused on everything, you're focused on nothing. If you're trying to build your strength, build your speed, build your power, build your endurance all together, you're not going to get positive effects in any of the areas. But by taking a step back from some of those physical qualities and actually putting the supreme prime focus into one of those areas, or potentially 2 of those areas if you can structure it properly, now you're going to see drastically better effect in that area that you're actually working on, while the other ones stay maintained about where they are. And then when you shift the focus, you've got a stronger, more resilient athlete to go into that next program, and in turn build a better athlete on top of what you have now. So quick one today. Just hope you guys take some good away from that and get a little bit of insight into how I program for my athletes, but also get a little bit of insight into, if you're programming for yourself, how fucking complicated this stuff can actually get. So like I said while we were talking, if you are an athlete that's right now programming for yourself, look, I get it. I understand money's tight. I understand time is tight. I understand that, it's a big investment, but understand that this stuff isn't just things you can throw together and get magical results. You wouldn't go into a fight without a coach to help you with that fight. You're not going to go into a jiu-jitsu match without working with a jiu-jitsu coach. You're not going to go into a boxing match without working with a boxing coach. Or if you do, you're crazy. And that's the thing that you guys are missing, is you're going into these things without a conditioning coach. You're going into these things without someone to help you build out a proper program that is going to give you the right effect on the right day, which is what you're ultimately looking for in your sport. So take that. I hope that just gives you a little something to think about. Shoot me a message or find a coach that works better for you. I'm not sitting here saying everyone has to work with me. I'm confident in the results we can get our athletes. We're crossing 100 wins through our company this week. And it's crazy. If you're doing it yourself, it's crazy. You got to start thinking about taking that next step if you're serious about the goals you have for your career. So I went on a little bit of a rant there, but I hope you guys took something away from this. I hope you guys understand now that you need to stop trying to improve every physical quality with every program, and you've got to focus on 1 to 2 areas to make the most improvement. And when you do that, you're going to be able to get drastically better results that are actually going to translate to your sport. So my one ask of you guys always as we wrap up the show is, if you got value from this, share it with a teammate, share it with a friend, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Thank you again. I appreciate you tuning in, and I'll talk to you all again soon.